Hey folks. Hope you've had a good week. I was going to say more about that. Sometimes, before I start these videos, I think about, what's on my mind, what's on my heart. And I feel sort of blank right now. I received a loaf of bread from somebody who I want to call a friend. I think I'll call them a friend. It'd be nice to call somebody who makes a loaf of bread for you a friend. And it was in reciprocation for a gift that I offered them, right? This is something that I'm beginning to really discover in my life, that I really find appreciation for people who like that back and forth. It's sort of like a game. It's a really fun game in my mind. You give somebody something, they give you something back, and then you give them something. Like in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to invite this person and their partner to dinner in the future, I've really missed those kinds of connections, and it's nice to be able to foster them again in my life, and also probably for the first time in a long time feel some sense of openness. Not that this is totally entirely new, this week. It's been slowly, gradually growing in my life. Anyway, let's get on with the reading. Two of Wands. Plans. Looking into the future. Considering what's coming next. Where do you feel, your internal impulses guiding you? Taking you? The picture in Two of Wands really makes it look like, kind of those kinds of plans. And I have to go into the Rider-Waite symbolism, and take it apart a little bit. Deconstruct it. I really like the Rider-Waite tarot. However, I do think sometimes, the illustrations are a little bit dramatic for day-to-day life, right? I don't get the same sort of gravitas that's involved in this picture for this reading as it is developing. Eight of Cups. So somebody's planning a getaway. And Cups is emotional energy. Cups is, our memories, our impression, our psychic impressions, our feelings. Somebody may be planning to get out of Dodge. Keep going. Page of Wands. Whatever this is, it's a new, it's a completely new path for them. A creative path. They've received some sort of intuitive, inspirational suggestion. Suggestion's not the right word. with wands, I think of this is somebody making a commitment to a new course of action. And you see in every single one of these illustrations, even in the Eight of Cups, there's a staff involved. And typically wands in tarot are representative of growth, of life, of fertility, or fertility might not be the right word, virility. The Kundalini serpent comes to mind. It's a very masculinized kind of energy. Or if you want, like, in a more Taoist sense, like a yang style energy. It's jubilant, it's vibrant, it's idealistic, right? It's really passionate. It's sometimes not necessarily cognizant of its impact on other people. It can be a little selfish at times. So we got, pairing this up with Eight of Cups. I get the suggestion that this is a motive for travel. There's a destination in mind. This is a journey for wholeness and completion and integration into a wider, larger world. And so I want to step back a little bit and go to the Eight of Cups and just sort of like, I want to ask real quick, like, what is this person planning and walking away from? Six of Pentacles. So that's a relationship of equal give and take. Or in this case, it could be somebody who has given too much and is burnt out by how much they've been given. I'm kind of getting that suggestion here, which is that, we have somebody who has been giving their all in life to the people around them, to their community, and they're just burnt out and they need to go find something to replenish them. And that could be difficult, right? Sometimes you feel like you're giving everything that you have and it's just not enough. Or you don't feel properly reciprocated. And so you find this need emotionally, right? In seeking emotional fulfillment, you have to go somewhere else. So my next question is, I would like to ask, I want to clarify Page of Wands here. What is this new journey that is going to lead to this wholeness, this completion, this sense of, the sense of holistic purpose in life? Chariot, there's a lot of travel going on. Another card of movement. This might be a reading for me, actually. It's resonating a lot with some thoughts I've been having lately. Chariot, okay. Chariot is a card of movement, of travel, of alignment. Of knowing what that feeling is, right? When you can kind of let go of the reins, like you have the reins, but you know that the team you're working with is so perfect and so like properly like oriented for your life that you're like, I trust this completely. This will take me to where I need to go, right? I mean, this is turning into an extremely powerful reading. Whoever this Page of Wands is, like, they know where they're going. And they know where it's taking them. And they seem to have an implicit amount of trust in the journey that's ahead of them. Gosh, should I just call the read right there? I don't, I mean, I guess I have more questions in regards to the nature of this journey, right? Like, okay, we got Chariot. Chariot's telling us this is very explicitly about movement and alignment. This is about, wands can be very communal in nature, right? So this is Page of Wands, right? Queen of Wands, King of Wands, they're very much personalities that are very socially attuned. There's even Knight of Wands can have that aspect too, where there's a big social component, a big, you know, connected component to it. And so whoever this is, whatever their social situation was previously, it was depleting them. And I can see if I can clarify. And so this was a love situation, right? Where they were feeling depleted. Or perhaps they had to make a choice. I think that's more in line, sort of what's going on here. There's a major choice that they had to make. In regards to like what was balancing them, what was like harmonious to them. And their vision of what that looked like changed. It could have been that previously, you know, this person who's making these plans, they felt burnt out, and they started, you know, visualizing and imagining for themselves, like, what does something more reciprocal look like? What is something that is more nurturing, more in line with my nature? What does that look like? And they decided, okay, I have to make a move, right? This is a big move, and they're just at the beginning of that journey. They're just starting out. If anything, they're still drawing the map. Page of Wands is like the first step, right? It's that saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and this is the first step. But like I said earlier, the good news is everything is in alignment for this person. In some sense, they don't even really, I mean, their steeds will take them there. So there's a lot of big energy on the board. whoever you are, and it could also be me, by the way, um, whoever you are out there, you've got a big journey in front of you. And it doesn't really look like it's a travail, right? It doesn't look like it's going to be like a trial. It's just like it's an adventure. It's definitely something I get out of Wands, is like, here's something very adventurous, something very, yeah, it's like going on a quest. I still would kind of, I wouldn't mind getting a little bit more about the nature of this quest that's going to bring them, you know, to their sense of wholeness, completion. All right, well, so that basically, it's a love quest. Gosh, yeah, I can't ignore that now because it just all the big cards on the board. Whoever this was, or whoever this is, was, is, still am. You're making a really big change in your relationships. I don't think it's just one single relationship. It's like, it's the whole communal aspect of your relationships. Because you're trying to align yourself more into like full-on love. Like you're making the choices for yourself and very deliberately planning them out and saying, okay, emotionally, what do I need to like walk away from? What is not filling my cups here? Where have things gone stagnant in my life? Where do I need to grow? Right? Page of Wands. Wands are about growth just as much as Pentacles are. But Wands are about like spiritual growth, creative growth, career growth, purpose, mission, drive, right? Like there is some big aspect of this person's life where they are not fulfilled, they're drained, and it seems to be in a very emotional, relational place. And so they are hitching their wagon and connecting. This could be career, this could be personal relationship, this could be community, but they're connecting. And they're finding the connections that are like holistic, fulfilling, in alignment with who they are as a person. And that's no easy task. You can find yourself in communities that are totally, perfectly nice. You even like them. And then over time, you find yourself, you know, in positions where I don't know if I completely align with this or that person. I have to like realign where I fit with this or that person, or with these people, with that community. There's a couple of communities and a couple of friendships where I've had to like really totally rearrange the time that I spend, the energy that I put into them, because I didn't feel fulfilled, you know? I didn't feel, I mean, to be quite frank, like I felt drained because I was always in this position of being the go-to person for fixing somebody's problems, rather than being in a back and forth, right? It's not about can you fix somebody's problems, but like, can you show up, right? And can they show up in return? That to me is the heart of like a good, profoundly like fulfilling relationship, is knowing, like, if somebody like routinely shows up, right, and routinely supports you, and you don't even ask, they just show up because they like genuinely like you, want to be around you, and vice versa. That's what more can you ask for in life? I mean, I've had this experience, and one particular person comes to mind. There are a couple people, but one particular person comes to mind where I've had this experience and just been like, I don't think I've ever been supported like this by an individual. It completely like reoriented the way that I thought about how I related to people, and how I thought about friendship, and how I thought about like just love in totality. Because it made me, I was in this place of reflecting on like past friendships, past relationships, how I relate to family and friends, and just being like, I have no comparisons. And so when you have that kind of, I don't even know how to put it. Like when you just have that kind of nurturing in your life, everything gets reoriented. Everything is changed completely. I mean, it's just like, there have been moments where it's brought me to tears because it has been so fulfilling. And so, you know, this is, like I said, this reading might be for me. I don't but I think it's for multiple people. I think it's for, I think it's, odds are it's probably for you if you're watching it. It's for somebody is going through this reorientation process and going through this realignment of like, what does community, what does friendship, what does love look like for me? Because like I said, this is super important, right? It's not just like what you give, it's also what you receive. It's not just what you receive, it's also what you give. That back and forth is what creates relationship and the quality of the relationship. And so, looking at this reading, what comes to mind, and this will try and conclude here, what comes to mind here is if you find yourself in that position where you're really wondering if you need to reorient these communities in your life, go and journal about it. Like, write down for yourself, like, write down every person, right? Like, every single person who means anything to you, and just, like, really outline, like, how do you interact with that person? How do they interact with you? And qualitatively assess for yourself. Like, you could even quantitatively, although I don't usually suggest this, but you could even quantitatively just orient for yourself, okay, like 1 to 10, in relation to other people in my life, how does this person show up for me? How do I show up for them? Because like I said, it's not just about what they do for you. It's also about what you do for them. And how do you feel? Like, how do you feel when you give to somebody? Does it feel good? Do you feel replenished when you give to somebody? You're not going to feel that way in every single relationship you ever have. You're going to have relationships with people, and this happens a lot with families, where you like give yourself and you try and show up and it feels like an obligation, and it just feels like it just has like a staticky kind of energy to it where you just feel drained at the end of the day. But that can also happen with friendships where you feel drained. You just don't, you kind of ask yourself, like, why am I showing up for this person? And it's okay. It's totally okay, because that's life, right? You do the best you can, but you're just, sometimes you're going to have connections in life where it just doesn't quite totally align and doesn't quite totally mesh. And nothing's perfect. And that's where you assess that for yourself, and you go through that journal and you check off and you go, okay, this person definitely, this person I'm not so sure, this person definitely not, right? That's totally okay, because you're not sending them off to the gulag. You're not putting any pain or suffering to anybody. You're just saying, like, okay, where do I give my energy? Where do I not give my energy so much? Who can come to the table, and who needs to maybe stay in the backyard? Or maybe they're just not invited in this house the same way they were previously. All relationships are contingent, contextual, and change over time. And so, that's my reading. That's all I got. Oh, hold on. Hope you have a great weekend. Hope you're having a wonderful day. And we will talk again soon. All right, bye.